So we finally saw a pullback in stocks. Mostly these crazy high-flying tech names that looked overvalued 2 months ago. I was wrong on. They just kept going higher and higher. So NASDAQ pulled back sharply. Again, it's Wednesday. We're getting a little bit of a bounce here. Maybe a little short covering. We'll see. But just want to put some of these things in perspective for you. And you have Tesla down 30% plus. It was 500. Now it's 350. And I love the $5 billion offering they announced on September 1st, where the stock was at 500, like at its high, all-time high. Now it's 350, so 30% lower, just 9 days. I'm not sure if they closed that offering. I was trying to find out information of where they closed the offering on that price, but they said it should be done by today. But I'm curious to see the price that they were able to close this at. I haven't seen it yet. If you have it, you can send it to me, but I'll probably know by the end of the day. I just couldn't find it before this. I know I don't know if it was a shelf offering where they could sell $5 billion, over a certain amount of time or whatever, but I also read that they were looking to do it. I'll finish it by September 9th. But man, good time to raise money. Hopefully they raise a little bit of money at a much higher price. Overstock. Overstock was trading at $128 3 weeks ago. It's 65. So we're talking about a 50% retracement since August 20th. It's another company. Did a great job in their offering. Raised $177 million on August 11th at a price at $84.50. So $84.50, they got that offering done just 3 weeks ago. It's great for the company because the stock is under 70 now. Not good for investors, though. Those mostly institutional investors that came in. But again, great for the company. Raising money at a super high price. Moderna down from 98 6 weeks ago, and it's 55. So you're looking at a 40% decline. I can't believe it. I'm telling people, I think 3 weeks ago, that it's a good short. I did a video on it if you look at YouTube or Twitter, only because when the numbers came out on how much the government, who they're partnered with, is going to charge for the vaccine, if they're first to the market, whatever, it was something like $20, $25. Every company that covers these guys, they were modeling 120 or higher. Think about that. So all the evaluations saying, well, the stock should be worth, $100 or $95. It was all based on that vaccine, which is going to be 95 to 98% of all their sales. And we're talking about their modeling for the next 3 years. Holy cow. You got to see like the 10-year outlook and discounted cash flow models. They predicting, I'm not kidding you, like $100 billion in cash on the balance sheet 10 years from now. Crazy. Considering the company never brought anything to the market, FDA approved, whatever. But man, I'm surprised it didn't get hit harder because it's your only product, and you just got told you're going to sell it at a 70% discount than was originally thought. But not too many people load the numbers. It's normal for Wall Street, especially for biotech companies that are going to look to raise money, and the guys covering them get investment fees. Makes sense. Look at Apple, 137 to 115. You say, well, it's not that big in terms of percent loss. The amount of market cap Apple lost is $400 billion. We throw around billions and trillions like crazy, right? Let's put this in perspective. That $400 billion amount lost in 3 trading days, $400 billion, is more than the market caps of 492 of the 500 companies in the S&P 500. Think about that for a minute. So only 8 companies have a market cap in the S&P 500 that's larger than $400 billion. I'm going to give you those names, and I'm going to leave one out because I'm sure if I told you to guess what those 8 names are, you're going to see Apple, Google, Microsoft, Facebook. What do you have? Walmart. You have Berkshire. There's one on that list that surprised the hell out of me. It really did. I don't know why. Maybe you guys knew, and I'll give you a second. But it's Visa. I didn't know Visa was the 8th largest company in the U.S. based on market cap. I'm surprised to see that. I mean, not crazy surprised. I just didn't think, I don't know, for some reason. Anyway, if you look at 8 companies, only 8 have a market cap larger than $400 billion. That's how much market cap Apple lost in 3 days. Facebook went from 304 to 275. Again, not crazy percentage-wise, but it amounted to a $70 billion loss in market cap. NVIDIA losing nearly 100 points. Is it 589 to 490? I mean, insane moves. But when you look at everything on a whole, the NASDAQ, fell 10% in 3 trading days. As I mentioned, it was rebound a little bit today. And that 10% number, it seems like a lot. It's enough to make investors nervous, or maybe it's just the media making you nervous, since the major financial channels, media channels, I mean, the guests, the host, the headlines you're seeing, I would scare the crap out of anyone. Breaking news in red everywhere, all over the screens. We're in a correction, which is the definition of a 10% decline in any stock, sector, whatever. Correction territory. Could we see this sell-off? And then you have, Kramer coming on and saying, you got to be an idiot not to take profits here. And, it's just so easy to make money. And, again, not making fun of him. He's kind of right. But just everyone, sell, right? We're in correction territory. They're bringing on all the technical analysts, and every technical analyst warned that more pain is coming. I didn't hear one say buy the dip. I didn't see not one. Of course, when tech rebounds like, another 5%, 99 of these guys are going to go on TV and tell you to buy the shit out of stock. You got to buy it. You got to buy it. But for now, more pain ahead. And it's a cool job being a technical analyst sometimes. I just wish you'd let us know things that happened beforehand, not tell us after the fact analysis. It's like falling down the stairs and breaking your arm, and the doctor's like, look, if you watch where you were going and held onto the banister, you could have avoided all this. Just meaningless. I love listening. This is why this happened. I don't care why it happened. Could you explain to me how I could have avoided? That's what you pay these people. That's what you pay me for. They try to warn you on things with COVID, when things are, when I'm worried about the markets, and that's our job, right? That's what you guys pay me for. My subscribers pay me for. You listen to this podcast. I'll tell you after the fact that everything happens. Man, anyone could do that. But putting the tech drop in perspective, okay? Because the 10 was scared. The NASDAQ was up 75% from its March lows and 32% year to date. And that was as of September 2nd before the pullback. When you look at the rest of the market outside of tech, you strip out FANG plus Microsoft, most of the market's not down that much. It's at around 3% over the past 3-4 trading days. That's based on the S&P 500, the equal weight index. Obviously, the bigger names, the bigger market caps, the FANG names and Microsoft carry a much bigger weighting. They equal 22% of the entire S&P 500 index, right? Responsible for that index just surging. But if you strip them out and give everyone the same rating or the weight index, the S&P 500 is down on the year. Interesting. Now, there are tons of tailwinds that will continue to put a bid under this market. I have no bias here. I'm just, I'm going to share some of these ideas on my educational segment, but listen, it's important that you understand this. And economic data across the board in the U.S. has been trending higher or better. And in the meantime, the economists still remain bearish, which is a bullish sign because they have yet to upgrade their forecasts. They're late to the party. What you hate to see is what you saw with, high-flying growth companies. If you look at names that are just expected to grow enormously, but yet they miss those estimates, what happens? Look at Slack. You get crushed. It's the same thing when it comes to the economy and economic data. I mean, if it's conservative, you're going to say, well, they blew out expectations. It's all about expectations. That's what the market trades on. You look at manufacturing, you look at consumer spending, retail numbers, unemployment. I don't know if you guys saw the 40% year-over-year increase in mortgages. 40%. I mean, that number is like single digit. That's a single digit number forever. 40% year-over-year increase. Incredible. Don't all the home stocks are going through the roof, and that trend is likely going to continue. So we have low interest rates. Look at the Fed, monetary fiscal stimulus going to continue. Trillions more coming. Interest rates will remain low for a considerable amount of time, years. And if they don't, they're going to implement yield curve control. They have to keep those rates low. So it's a win-win situation. I would say they're going to use yield curve control, and it's going to be great even for small cap stocks, especially most riskiest assets. Let's give you a long-term time frame that, hey, we're capping the rates at a certain level. But the only way it doesn't happen is rates stay low by themselves. But I think they will generally move higher, forcing the Fed's hands. If not, either way, it's a good scenario, which makes stocks a great investment. I think it's pretty reasonable also to expect inflation. Trillions just handed to people directly. We're not talking about TARP, where it was given to the banks. And consumers are getting these checks in the mail, businesses, everything. And I have to tell you, when it comes to inflation, everyone's scared of it, but equities are actually a very good investment at early stages and mid stages of inflation, which I expect to see. And I told you that in February and March, when all this stuff shit was hitting the fan. We're hearing a lot of people come out and say, yes, I expect inflation now. A lot easier to see. Look at valuations. Yeah, they're stretched, but take out the crazy tech names, maybe some nutty biotech, and look at some of the energy, industrials, financials, cyclicals, dividend-paying stocks, small caps are reasonably priced. A lot of names within those sectors or segments are well off their highs. Now, I'll say the stat again. Remember, the major tech companies, FANG plus Microsoft, account for 22% of the S&P 500 index. And these names are what push the major indexes higher, especially since the coronavirus. But also that there's plenty of tech names outside of the high flyers. Plenty of them that are trading at below 20 times forward earnings and growing their earnings by more than 20%. You say, wait, 20 times forward earnings, Frank, that's expensive. It's expensive if you compare it to the S&P 500 over the past 10 years and say, well, it was trading at 16 and a half times. That's the normal PE ratio over the past 10 years, the average, the mean, whatever, which is right, but we have a low interest rate environment, so maybe you push it up to like 17 and a half, whatever. But it's a company-by-company basis, guys. If you're trading at 30 times forward earnings, but your earnings are growing at 35, 40%, your stock is actually cheap. These are the names that exploded. And these names aren't like garbage names that are up 100% for the year. I look at the sales trends. I cover this in a video. Go check Twitter. It's for free at Frank Curzio or Curzio Research YouTube page. I did a video on it. Credit Suisse came out with a great report. You look at the margins. The margins have exploded compared to the rest of the group, to everybody else. So if you're looking at the names that took off, it's because they're seeing sales, earnings, margins explode. But when I did my own screen and looking at companies in tech that are trading below 20 times forward earnings and growing earnings by more than 20%, Qualcomm, VMware, Teradyne, Aspen Tech, Fortinet, Palo Alto, Micron, just a few of a ton. Decent-sized list. These are names I'm researching. Don't go out and buy those names. I'm going to look at individual basis. Maybe you see insiders buying. Maybe you see more. There's another 50 factors I'd have to go through to see which ones are the best, but that's a good starting point. Usually that starting point's a lot smaller for me when I'm screening names. Oh, here's about 12 names. No, I didn't think there'd be 50. Let's see which ones are the best and have the best catalyst going forward. Another reason you're looking at another tale, where else are you going to put your money? We all know we have tons of liquidity, and this money has to flow somewhere. Maybe it comes out of these large cap techs. If you're a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund, pension fund managing billions, trillions, even some of these get trillions, right? BlackRocks and Vanguards or whatever. Where are you going to put the money? And name another country that you would put this money rather than putting it in the U.S. And most still have under 25% capacity, which is, in terms of opening their economy. Even New York just announced, as I'm doing this, they're going to allow 25% indoor dining up to 25% capacity. Congratulations. You're only closed for 6 months. Nice job. You got to put in treasuries? 10-year at 0.6? Good luck. You going to buy gold? Yeah, they're buying gold, but most of these guys don't have more than a 5% allocation in gold. So where's they going to put the rest of the money? And then you look at COVID. Everywhere you look at the U.S., the numbers are getting better and better. And 2.89% death rate this week. That's the lowest thus far, people who get the coronavirus. It was 8% in April, just to show you that this number keeps coming down because we know we have to protect the right people. And we're smarter about this. But that's what we want to see. And hospitalization rates are at their lowest levels as well. With that said, all those positives, reasons why you should buy stocks, not all stocks, but why the bull market's going to continue. All of this can be derailed. all of it could be derailed. So we could see a massive, massive collapse in stocks and a huge slowdown in our economy. How can it be derailed? There is a huge agenda to make things seem much worse than they actually are when it comes to the coronavirus. It's important that you're aware of this. Most of you are, some of you are not. It's fine. I don't care what side you're on. It doesn't matter. This is about your portfolio. For example, if you have a social media account, I want you to do me a favor. Try reporting something positive about the coronavirus, like positive facts. The positive numbers that I just mentioned, 2.89% death rate, hospitalization rates, just those. Or the fact that out of all COVID deaths in the U.S., only 6% have been 100% caused by COVID. The other 94% had 2 to 3 other serious illnesses. An overwhelming majority of those people, much, much older age, 90% in nursing homes. Not saying that COVID isn't the cause of all these 180,000 plus deaths, but it's not the sole cause. 94% of these people that died was because they had 2 to 3 other underlying conditions, and they were much, much, much older. Fact. Maybe post a stat about how the recent data from CDC when it comes to the coronavirus and influenza, this is February 1st through August, if you're under 15 years old living in the U.S., you're 40 times more likely to die from the flu after catching it than dying from the coronavirus. 40 times more. And don't shoot the messenger here. Just reporting the numbers on a CDC website, which is unbiased. I mean, used by Democrats and Republicans to cite data. If you have another site, let me know. That's unbiased. Again, this is data I'm trying to capture to tell everyone. But try posting positive data about COVID on social media. Just try. And watch how quickly you get attacked. Just look at my social media accounts. Just posting this data. Hey, this is great news. No, you don't understand. It's crazy. Why are you telling kids to go back to school for? You don't even have kids. No, I have kids. I have one that takes Humira and lowers her immune system. And I'm a little worried, but looking at statistics, I think she's going to be fine. I'm in the boat just like you. I'm not saying all parents should send their kids back. I'm saying it should be up to the parents, though, based on the statistics. It should be up to the politicians. And I understand why they want to attack you. I mean, scaring the shit out of everyone means more people are going to stay home. They're going to watch more of your news channels, and the people who own these networks and hosts are going to make an absolute fortune. So it's in their best interest to scare the shit out of you so you keep watching. Which is pretty crazy if you think about it, since they're truly hurting America and hurting Americans by not reporting the truth. Which, remember when that used to be the media's job? To tell the truth without an agenda? Not today. I mean, these are the numbers. This is the data. This is the science. I have no agenda here. If we see cases rise, that death rate goes up, you're gonna hear me talk about it and say, hey, we got to watch out, whatever. These are numbers. Someone's been following us for longer than most people out there since January. But this is the data, this is the science. Yet people with an agenda, let's say like the idiots running New York and California, and I have nothing against New York, California people. I love those areas. They're really, really cool. Just hate the fact that you have people telling you what to do, what you need to do, which is crazy. But the people running a lot of places around the country, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen to science. And it's funny because every politician, they all say the same thing. They're going to follow the science. We're going to follow the science. Do what the science tells us. What science are you talking about? Because I've seen assholes like Zeke Emanuel, who's the chair of the Department of Medical Ethics and Health Policy at University of Pennsylvania, oncologist, apparently, a big voice out there when it comes to COVID. He's encouraging lockdowns. He wants lockdowns. He's encouraging that we still have lockdowns. Now, that's his opinion. Everyone's entitled to one. And that's not why I think he's an asshole, even though he's a respected doctor and should be looking at all the data, which he's not. But I'm not ripping him because of his opinion. This guy's an asshole because he also has his own consulting firm that charges businesses and companies on how to reopen or get around the current red tape from governments that are keeping their economies closed. I mean, you got to love that guy. Got to love that guy. He has an agenda, and he's going to make a fortune if the lockdowns continue, but he is part of science that someone could be listening to. And you have to remember, whatever side of the aisle you're on, these politicians, they don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about me. They only care about power and money. You don't know that by now? They're going to do anything and say anything to maintain this status. Trump just changed it on drilling off the west coast of Florida. Offshore drilling. He's for it. It's great. Now he changed because Florida's a big battleground state. You look at Biden. I never said to fund the police. Wait a minute. I didn't say, yes, you did. I didn't say no fracking. Yes, you did. I said fracking, no federal. No, you didn't say. Well, they're changing because they're looking at polls that people care about, and they're going to change their opinion because they want to get elected. They want power. Instead of really sticking to what they believe, they're going to tell you whatever they want. You got to know that by now. But getting back to Zeke, talking at both sides of his mouth, nothing new. And you remember Al Gore, who's a brilliant person, extremely smart guy that told the greatest story ever about how our world is basically going to end if we don't address global warming immediately, right? That was 2006. He scared millions and millions of people. He forced government bodies and institutions to invest billions to help save the world. They had to invest or they would have been called out, right? Got to save the world, lower carbon emissions. He even got famous actors to join the cause, preach on his behalf. I mean, that's the definition of a cult. But listen to some of the things he said. Sea levels would surge by 20 feet. They're rising by 3 millimeters per year since his forecast. So based on his forecast, that 20-foot surge, it's not going to happen to 3017 that year, okay? He said polar bears are going to die. Polar bears, they're dead. They're not going to find ice. They're going to die. Polar bear numbers are actually increasing. They've been for years. The Arctic sea ice will be completely gone by 2014. It's not. The forecast keeps getting pushed out every year. 2025, now 2050. I think 2025 is going to get pushed out again. And I'm not against trying to make this world a cleaner place, a better place, or against climate change in general. I'm against someone intentionally making bullshit predictions that would never come true, something we actually see in the financial news industry all the time, but to scare the hell out of everyone, right? That's his intention, to go over the top. Why? Because Gore was buying carbon credits through a fund set up with the former chief of Goldman Sachs Asset Management, started their own fund, and they amassed a fortune trading carbon credits, which rose tremendously as he started promoting this movie and getting governments to mandate global warming policies. But Al Gore not becoming president was the best thing that ever happened to him. He was worth around $3 million back then. This is in 2000 when he lost to Bush. By 2013, he was worth $300 million. It's after publishing his documentary and Giving You Truth a few years earlier. Very smart politician. Scare the hell out of everyone to make an absolute fortune. You didn't have to scare him. You didn't have to make bullshit predictions. You can get your point across, and people on both sides of the aisle will believe you. But when you make stupid predictions like that because you want to scare the shit out of everyone so you make a fortune, that's politics. But getting back to the science part and who we listen to, guys, this is very important. Zeke Emanuel believes we need to lock down again. Again, he has his own agenda. We have a blueprint with Sweden showing, we don't need lockdowns to lower death rates and hospitalization rates. Look at states like Georgia and Florida, first to reopen. Numbers are going down across the board as they reopen at the end of April, early March. And you look around, businesses are not dying in these areas. People are living. Hospitalization death rates are low. Now that we know people under 60 without underlying conditions will have mild-like symptoms. We know that. Take Dr. Fauci, who I have no idea, again, about the science, who we're listening to. No idea why this guy was promoted to the world's leading voice of the coronavirus. Who originally said, the U.S. is fine. We're fine. We're perfect. Never going to need to lock down cities. Not like in China. No way. We'll never do that in the U.S. Today, Dr. Fauci, never shake hands again. Don't shake anyone's hand. Don't shake anyone's hand. While he's posing in pictures on the front page of magazines. Instead of being in the field analyzing every piece of data available on the coronavirus, coming in from every state on an hourly basis? I have nothing against Fauci. I think he's a decent person. He's been very, very, very wrong. There's no denying that. There's no denying that. What about Dr. Theresa Tam? She's someone we're going to listen to? Canada's chief public health officer. You're going to listen to her on her interpretation of the science, who says that everyone should wear a mask when having sex with their partner. Everyone, wear a mask. Even if you're under 50, coronavirus is like a mild flu for 98% of that demographic, wear a mask. I'm sure Dr. Tam is single. If she's not, I'm sure her husband's probably going to leave her if she really practices what she preaches, because that's a joke. That's Canada's chief public health officer is telling everybody that. That's considered the science, the people. Why is that important? Because Joe Biden came out and said, he's leading the presidential race by most polls. Can't deny that. Definitely going to become our next president, saying he would close our entire economy if scientists recommended. What scientists, Joe? I need to know. Because everyone I just mentioned has an agenda. Are these the people that you're gonna listen to? It's a good question. Because what happens if he does listen to those scientists that I just mentioned? Imagine shutting down the entire U.S. economy again when looking at the current data because you're listening to these scientists have an agenda. Imagine what would happen to our country. Giving the middle finger to every working person in America, telling them to stay home and keep your business closed because of a virus that's less lethal than the flu in people who are under 60 years old with no underlying conditions. 60 and older. That's a key demographic. That if you're 6-year-old, you need to be very concerned about contracting the coronavirus, especially if you have an underlying condition. We know that. That's a fact. At that 60, this is an age where the death rate of infected starts to move up considerably. Then it moves even higher past 65 and much, much, much higher past 70 years old if you get the coronavirus, and especially if you have underlying conditions, if you're over 70. Now, where am I going with this? Why am I saying that with 70? Hear me out, guys. It's important. If you are 70 or older, don't you think you will have a much different viewpoint on the coronavirus compared to someone who is 45? And there's leading doctors that are under 50 years old in charge of major hospitals. And I can tell you from speaking close to a dozen or in this age, 0 of them, 0 support lockdowns and believe kids should go back to school because they're looking at the data. They don't have an agenda. They're not on TV. But it's just natural. If you are older 70, you should be scared of catching the coronavirus. And again, just talk about the data here that shows the risk of fatality from the coronavirus moves up considerably, surges when you're over 70. Yet, look at the people who are or will be in charge of making decisions for the entire population of Americans about the coronavirus. Let's take Trump, 74 years old. Biden is 77. Dr. Fauci is 79. Pelosi is 80 years old. Schumer is going to be 70 next month. Mitch McConnell, 78. Guys, Democrats and Republicans are named here. Bernie Sanders, 79. We have to worry about listening to him anymore. Think about those people making the decisions. Are these the people we really want to tell the 328 million people living in America on how they should live with the coronavirus? Or how about the 274 million people of those 328 who are under 65 years old? So you talk about these are kids, right? Going to school, the working class, people who own their own businesses, 274 million people who are not in that danger zone. Do we really want these people who are all in the danger zone? Who, again, I would think differently if I'm 75 too. I would be scared shit telling everybody you got to worry. I mean, of course you're going to be biased. There's a small part of the population, of the overall population. I mean, excuse my language. It's fucking insane to be listening to these people who are over 70 telling you that you have to worry about the coronavirus and how scared it is when they're right for their demographic, but for the majority of Americans, they're dead wrong based on the statistics. And it's like putting someone who just survived a plane crash in charge of airline security at a major airport. I mean, everybody would be boarding the plane with parachutes on. It's insane. But seriously, these are people we want, or people that I want to tell me, every parent out there, that our kids under 15 years must stay home from school, even though the fatality rate of these kids infected with coronavirus is 0.04%. 0.04%. If you get it, that's a chance to get 0.04%. Hey, the rate of someone dying from a car crash is 0.9%. Look it up. 0.9%. Not 0.09%, 0.9%. So should every American stop driving cars right now? It wouldn't be a bad thing for AOC. I mean, no more planes, boats, or cars. That's pretty cool. So my subscribers in Hawaii, Alaska, overseas, guess we'll never meet in person if that Green Deal gets passed. Interesting. But the point of this, and I'm hoping I'm driving this home and I'm not boring you to death, guys. It's going on. Listen, the biggest risk to our economy right now. So higher interest rates, yeah, that's a no-brainer. But the misinformation about the coronavirus, it's just scaring so many people. And that results in sentiment where people are scared to go out. For example, my friends in New York think I'm crazy for sending my kids back to school since the city remains closed. Again, I just got it now. I get my watch on and get updates that Cuomo is opening up restaurants, indoor dining, 25% after 6 months. But a lot of my friends in New York think I'm crazy. Why? Because de Blasio and Cuomo get on TV twice a day saying the world's going to end if you open your business. And they're being conditioned to be scared. It's not hard to do. It depends on what news stations you're watching and what newspapers you're reading. If you're in New York City, you're nervous. But Florida, Georgia, everything has been open since May, early May. Businesses are doing well. We saw a quick spike in infected rates when we reopened. Again, every media channel let us know that. Look at the spike. They didn't want to talk about the death rates, hospitalization rates stayed low and continue to decline sharply as a percentage each passing week while businesses are open here and things are good. That's great for Florida and Georgia, but that sucks for other cities. Look at LA, where the mayor said, "I'm going to turn off your electricity and water for anyone hosting a party or social gathering." So if you have your daughter's 10-year-old birthday party where you invite over 10 people to the party at your house, and you're taking a temperature before they come into your house, no electricity and water, you're cut off. You're completely cut off. We're going to cut off electricity and water. And to be honest, maybe you should have threatened them with something else since you're already shutting off the electricity. That makes sense. But man, I mean, you're better off living in North Korea. You have more freedoms there. All you have to do is, don't say anything bad. Kim Il, whatever his name is. Don't say anything bad about government and you're fine. You're going to be cool there. Go to North Korea. Again, I've done it against California. I love it. It's a beautiful place. I have lots of friends there. Really cool people. I have no idea what's going on. When I see it, I'm like, whoa, you're going to shut off my electricity and water if I have a couple people over my house? Especially if everyone's under 30? Man, pretty crazy times. But hopefully we're going to stop the bullshit. Stop putting Americans first again and America first. Especially Americans or the people who actually voted these politicians into office, right? You're supposed to give a shit about them. Because we continue spreading this fear, continue to scare the hell out of people, and decide to lock things down again, look out. Look out. Game changer. Our economy will crash. We'll retest lows, not just retest those March lows, we'll blow right through them. And we'll probably do a day or two after that announcement. I mean, you'll see a massive sell-off. See people leaving all major cities, see more unrest, more riots, more police retiring. I mean, America's going to be a really scary place if we lock down again. And for anyone thinking differently, no matter what side you're on, you're not a realist. You're really not a realist. And people are dying to get out. They're being told you have to stay in your house for something that we're getting the stats that actually is not that bad for the majority of people. For the majority of people living in the United States. We know who we need to protect. But man, America will be a really, really scary place if that happens. So when you say you're looking at the science, it depends whose science you're listening to. And I hope we're listening to the people who don't have an agenda. Because those are the people that are looking at these stats and opening up. And ever since you're looking around every single state that's opened up, look at their economies. They're doing fine. Look at basketball. Look at the live sports. Not seeing tons of people. You're not seeing it spread as fast. Name an athlete that's died from COVID that's currently playing, that's in good shape. I don't know any, and I follow sports like crazy my whole life. Look at the facts and use your common sense because that's what really matters.